Bitcoin continues to bleed here as the festive period is upon us. Is there a chance of what is known as a Santa Claus rally? Could we see the last few days of 2024 providing outsized returns? I'm going to break down exactly what we've seen historically in the charts and whether we can stem this bleeding. Got some important technical updates as well, so make sure you watch to the very end. If you like this type of content, smash the likes. Do not forget to subscribe. I'm going to continue to provide you guys updates through this festive period and into 2025, which still, despite this pullback, promises to be a strong year for crypto. You can see here Bitcoin bleeding just a little bit here on this 4-hourly candle. You can see this 4-hourly candle is now down 2.6% at the time of recording. The daily candle now follows up the third consecutive red day here for Bitcoin, down 1.8% on the day, holding around 93.3. But there's a very important level coming up which we must hold. I'm going to show you that. Then I'm going to jump on to talk about this Santa Claus rally. Now, before we do that, let's take a look at the historical Bitcoin performance in December, just to get an idea of, do we typically do well in December anyway? If we start back in 2010, a 31% month on Bitcoin. 2011 was a 53% return, 7% return in 2012. If we skip on a couple of years, 2015 was a strong year, 18%, 28% in 2016, 2017 was 27%, 53% in 2020. Then we had two negative Decembers. Last year was 9% up for Bitcoin, and so far this month we're trending down 1.3%. Of course, it's important you take other months into consideration, right? Of course, a very strong October for Bitcoin, well, strong through September, right? September, October, and particularly November, very strong here on Bitcoin. Of course, the asset class is growing, so you kind of expect less returns in terms of performance, but there's still a chance we end the month in the green. I mean, down 1.3%. You know Bitcoin can do a 2% day and end the month positive, so we're going to break down the likelihood of that. We also know that this has been skewed based on what the Fed spoke about last week, right? Even on the traditional markets here, you're seeing the Dow Jones fall more than 200 points to start this week. Of course, it is a shortened week. Volumes will be low, like we spoke about yesterday. A lot of people would have left their desks, headed off on holiday, spending time with loved ones and family. So you can see that straight away here in the charts. Even though it's a Monday today, volumes are very, very subdued, and I expect that to continue into tomorrow, and of course on Christmas Day and Boxing Day as well. So we'll probably see the volumes pick up on 26th, 27th, and then it will die down again for the new year, and then it should pick up thereafter. So that then brings us on to where is critical support. Well, first and foremost, on the daily chart, we were an upward trend, right? We spoke about this big upward trend, and it was consolidation, because the real move started from all the way down here, big move up here on Bitcoin, and then it just consolidated. But it didn't just consolidate downwards, right? Normally, if you've had extended price action here to the upside, your consolidation looks like this. You consolidate downwards, or at the very least, quite choppy sideways. It was very bullish at the time that Bitcoin was doing this, and so this pullback shouldn't be too much of a surprise, particularly down to this pivot point, right? This pivot point, which is the bottom of the wedge, which comes in around that price point of 85k. You shouldn't be surprised to see this kind of playing out. Let me share another chart with you, which I prepared for our Telegram members earlier today. If you're not in Telegram, by the way, ijazcrypto.com/TG. That's where you're going to get the live update. So we spoke about the exact same pattern. You've got this block of support above 90,000. Failing that, you're coming down to the bottom of the pivot point, which is what I just shared with you, to grab some liquidity around that 85k mark. There are even gaps around 80k as well if this market wanted to get particularly painful. But first targets are really obviously trying to hold 90k flat. Failing that, 85k starts to come into fruition. If you take a look at the liquidity heat maps as well, you can see the same thing, right? Bunch of liquidity sitting around this 90,000 mark, which market makers will want to grab. Thereafter, the question is, do they want to go and grab some more? Do they want to come down here, down towards kind of the 80k flat mark? My premonition is that I think as Bitcoin starts to fall down to 90, particularly the 85k scenario that I shared with you to grab the liquidity, you're going to start seeing too many shorts pile in, and at that point liquidity starts to then come above. You'll start getting more attractive liquidity back at 100k, back at 105k, and 110k as well, because people are shorting from those price points. So that's the scenario I'm watching play out. I want to see, when we do get these pullbacks down to 90k, and then if we need to go down to 85, remember the liquidity is going to start building from above, and it may be that we then go spike back up to go grab that liquidity as well. Like I shared with you guys, we can take a look as well at the short to long ratios just to see how that's sitting. And again, still a slight bias. It's reduced a little bit since our last update, but still a bias towards shorting. There's just slightly more shorts in the market than longs right now, and liquidations continue to be occurring, right? Another 270, which is like a $250 million wrecked again in the last 24 hours. So we are seeing Bitcoin here kind of struggling here. We've got important support here, which we need to keep an eye on. Shorter term, let's zoom down into the shorter time frame here just to show you how important certain levels are. This is going to be the important level you need to watch here on Bitcoin, is this candlestick here. If you go back to the 20th of December on Friday, you had a big horrible candle here, which was a 5% candle to the downside, which took you as low as 92.5. From 92.5 we bounced very quickly in the next 4-hourly candle, and since then of course we started tumbling to the downside. If we fail to hold this, right, just zooming back out to the daily chart, if we fail to hold this wicking candle, then the bottom of the wedge is the only support left thereafter. 85k becomes, I mean, there's no support in this region once you lose that wicking candle, which gave some support on Friday. So keep an eye on that level, particularly the 92.5k region is going to be a very important one for us to hold here on Bitcoin. Bringing out the EMA ribbon, you can see we are moving into the EMA ribbon, right? This is something I spoke about. We're moving so strongly here. We came back in to test the EMA ribbon, but now we're testing it properly. It's not just a small test at the top here where we bounce. There's not huge bullish momentum here. The Fed has rug pulled this market. The market is worried. Risk has rotated a little bit off since the Fed meeting last week, and we're testing this EMA ribbon for real. If you want further proof behind that, look at the top lines here on the EMA ribbon. The lighter color line is trying to cross the next line across, and if this starts flipping, if this EMA ribbon starts flipping, we start turning the day trend into a bear trend, which is not good here on Bitcoin, because then you have to zoom out to the weekly chart, to which a pullback is all the way down here towards 80k, which ties in with the liquidity levels I was just sharing with you. So longer term, medium term, do I care if Bitcoin wants to come to its weekly EMA ribbon? Not particularly. In the short term, will it create a lot of panic? Of course. I mean, if you jump onto the Fear and Greed Index now, we're still in greed, but don't forget, just last week we were at 83 on extreme greed, so it's already taken a notch back, and that's without us losing 90k. You can imagine if we lose 90k, this market's going to start dropping into neutral and fear, and more FUD will start to come out, and you'll start to see more cascading liquidation. So, a pullback here into EMA ribbon, anything below 85 to 80k region, I'm going to start buying the dip on some of my favorite altcoins and Bitcoin. Again, I didn't want to be chasing these candles, but now if we're going to get a pullback into this region, these will provide some nice opportunities to buy the dip. Now, Santa rally. Are we going to get one? What is a Santa Claus rally? Well, this is it. Since 1950, if you plotted the returns of the S&P 500 during the last 5 trading days of December and the first 2 of the new year, right, the first 2 trading days of 2025, 55 out of 70 years had a positive return. Okay, and this is really, really interesting. So 79% of the time, you've had a positive return in those last 7 days. 5 before the end of the year, 2 in the new year. Over those 70 years, the S&P increased by an average of 1.33% during the last 5 trading days of December and the first 2 of the new year. So we know that crypto is correlated to S&P. We know it's correlated to risk on assets. Now, the problem we have this time around with the Santa rally happening is the Fed have rug pulled us just before the Santa rally. So typically you would have seen a Santa rally around this period. We kind of had it early, right? We kind of had it early in terms of the election, the movement we saw in equities, the movement we saw in traditional markets and crypto as well. And then Jerome Powell's just kind of given us a slap last week, which has kind of just put a downer on this Santa Claus rally potential. Now, if you look at the stats here, you can see these are all the returns you can see in those 5 days plus the 2 days in the new year. Green, green, green. So many, big green candles, including 6% returns, 7.5% returns. I mean, you got 7% returns. Big opportunities in this Santa Claus rally. The problem I have this time around is that, one, we had the move earlier because of the election, so a lot of that excitement, which normally comes at this period, was kind of front-loaded to after the election. But also, we can't just ignore what's gone on with Jerome Powell. Markets are going to be nervous about that. I mean, I was just looking at some of the economic data that came out today as well. Didn't look so great as well, right? So we had the consumer confidence fell to 104.7, its lowest level since September. and below the 113 estimate. Orders for durable goods, which are things like aircraft, appliances, computers, like big things, fell 1.1% in November, the largest month-over-month drop since June. So these are indications that there are, kind of some issues here with the economy which we'll need to watch over. The market needs to kind of digest it and understand where we're heading here. And again, we kind of need some of this data to come in line to tell Jerome Powell to cut. Right? So if data is coming in weaker, that's an okay thing in the sense that as long as it's within parameters, which sounds really weird, but that's the Goldilocks situation we're here in the market, because the whole reason Jerome Powell is saying we're only going to cut interest rates twice next year is because he thinks the economy is remarkably strong right now. If we see data suggesting the economy is weak, maybe he's going to change his mind. Maybe he'll cut 3 times, 4 times next year. And that's what we want to rotate risk on. So there you have it, guys. There is an update on the market. Bitcoin continues to bleed here. We hope for a Santa Claus rally. Please be careful if you're trading out there. I did share a message with our traders in the VIP community as well. Volumes are low. It's so easy to get manipulated in these days. If you guys aren't experienced trading through the festive period, it is a tricky one. You got low volumes, easy to move the market, easy to kind of be in a trade and look away and come back and your stop loss has been hit. So just be very, very careful during this period. If you like this type of content, smash up likes. Do not forget to subscribe if you want to trade with me. IjazCrypto.com/TG. Start off the new year trading with somebody who's been trading the market. I've shared every single one of my trades throughout 2024. If you guys want to see that for free, links in the description. You can see the reports of every single trade I've taken, when I've hit profit, when I've messed up and hit a stop loss as well. It's all in there for you guys to see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.